And they voted for a Muslim mayor.
Earlier,
and isn't that a beautiful thing about America? I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing about America, that we don't care about religion, that young Jewish voters and young Christian and Muslim voters vote for a Muslim candidate because they believe in his economic message and his message of justice? That's what America is supposed to be all about, that we forget about this race and religion stuff and vote on the substance.
You talk about him implementing change, but all of his promises are lies when we can go through and debunk every single one.
In today's video, Cenk Uygur absolutely destroys Piers Morgan and his MAGA panel in a heated 4v1 debate about Zoran Mamdani and the current political climate on the Piers Morgan show. Cenk Uygur takes on the panel over New York Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani's fiery criticism of Donald Trump, and he absolutely obliterates every tired talking point they throw at him. So let's dive in and watch how Cenk Uygur shuts down Piers Morgan and his MAGA panel on the Piers Morgan show.
For example, he says he wants to offer free buses, but guess what's going to happen then? If you don't charge anything for buses, there's no funding for transportation coming in. So how are you going to maintain your infrastructure fleet? And if you control rent, the supply of housing is going to decrease and the quality will decrease as well. And most importantly, though, who's going to pay for it when the governor of New York herself, Kathy Hochul, vowed that she would not be raising taxes? So every single thing he said was actually a lie. Either he knew it or he doesn't. I don't know which is better. Is it deception?
No, it's not a lie.
Well, I just told you. I gave
Lindy,
you 3
examples
of things that could just cannot happen because the governor is not raising taxes. He can't operate in a vacuum. Okay, not everyone is a communist. You have to partner with other people in the government and collaborate. It's a whole of government approach.
So,
it's not
a
microcosm.
You're saying you disagree with his approach, but to say that it's a lie doesn't make sense. No, he really does want free buses, and he has a plan for free buses. Now, you can say, hey, I don't think that plan is going to work, and I think it's going to have negative consequences. Well, good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally work out, and in fact, there are different ways to finance it.
I think he went into the campaign knowing that he was offering false promises to the New York people. Another thing that I find extremely alarming is saying that he said his ultimate goal is to seize the means of production. That is something straight out of Animal Farm right there. It has no place in the United States of America.
He certainly has. He's got a lot of quotes on his track record. I want to pivot just before we finish this. Rudy, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump, because you could argue the last 2 or 3 weeks have been the best, really, of his entire time as president, first and second term combined. You've got this extraordinary strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities and a ceasefire coming when people did not anticipate that happening so quickly. He's got NATO to stump up to 5% of GDP on individual spending, a massive win at the Supreme Court, of course. Peace deal in Africa. He brought peace between India and Pakistan when that was flaring up. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Gaza. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Ukraine. If we end up at the end of the year and there is peace in Ukraine, there is peace in Gaza, and all the other things I've mentioned here, not to mention the southern border has pretty much stopped now having anyone coming over illegally, and the economy, if that is purring away as well, given that the stock market's pretty much back where it was before the tariff war started, so he's obviously pleasing the markets. If you put all that together, this could be a stunning, successful year for Trump. Cenk, I mean, putting aside the fact you can't stand him, do you acknowledge he's had a lot of wins?
Well,
look, I give credit
to Cenk,
Rudy, that one's for me too. Yeah.
Well, I know
so,
big
I give credit where
behind
credit is due.
Yeah, give him credit.
On some things. So, look, I think that the budget bill's a disaster. I think that it's going to pass and it's going to create $4 trillion deficit. And they always give away tax cuts for the rich and then go, oh, golly gee, I don't know how we wound up with such a big debt. It's because of Republicans who passed these giant tax cuts.
Cenk Uygur came in swinging on the Zoran Mamdani discussion, defending the idea that Americans can support a candidate based on their ideas and not just their religion or ethnicity. And he's right. That's literally what democracy is supposed to be about. We're supposed to vote for candidates who fight for working people, who want justice, who want policies like affordable housing and public transit, not just because they check a demographic box. When the panel started ranting about free buses being impossible and seizing the means of production as if we're living in some dystopian nightmare, Cenk Uygur held his ground. The truth is, publicly funded transit systems already exist all around the world, in places like Luxembourg and Tallinn, Estonia, and they work. Free buses can be funded by reallocating budgets, cutting tax breaks for giant corporations, or taxing ultra-wealthy New Yorkers who can easily afford it. And then the panel pivoted to Trump, bragging about all his supposed wins. But let's be real. Trump's supposed peace deals are often performative. The actual experts from foreign policy think tanks to people on the ground have noted that these so-called deals often unravel quickly or simply paper over deeper conflicts.
And I can go, and I don't like Marines in the streets. There's a million things that I criticize Donald Trump on that, and he deserves that criticism. But the proof's going to be in the pudding, right? So if he walks back all the tariffs, as he's in the middle of doing now, he closes the border, and this is the critical part. If he gets a two-state solution, which just sounds so unbelievable, right? But if he gets that to happen, then there's no way that you could stop his popularity. Because at that point, he will be a peace president. He probably will win a Nobel Peace Prize. And it'll cement his legacy. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. But that's a giant if, right?
Sure.
But if he allows Israel, which is much more likely, if he allows Israel to continue the slaughter in Gaza, he continues having them agitate for war in Iran, and he continues with the tariffs, he continues with Marines in the streets and National Guard in the streets, et cetera, then he's going to continue to be more and more unpopular. So the jury is very much out right now.
All right, Geraldo, you know, I thought Rudy hit on something there. Rudy has slipped off into the night, I think, but thank you. Unexpected bonus to have him return. The thing he said, though, about Trump being a changed man since the assassination attempt, I've definitely detected that when I've talked to him. I also think he's a man who got a second lease at life, a second lease at the presidency, and he's on a mission, a real fast-track mission to get stuff done, because he knows come the midterms that things may slow down. He might get paralyzed in terms of his ability to get stuff through. So he's on a mission in these first 2 years, I think, to get as much done as he possibly can, and to do it in a pretty blunt and often quite savage way, because he knows from his first term that if you don't do that, you won't get stuff done.
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I disagree because I believe that his draconian policies toward undocumented immigrants in this country, not the border's fine, sealed the border, but the people who are here, who have proven to be law-abiding and hardworking and God-fearing and family-oriented, what they are living in terror now. I'll tell you right now, Piers, I've never seen anything like it, particularly Hispanic. It hits close to home. It is you can't find workers now, service people. The Hamptons are in panic over our affluent holiday spa in the eastern end of Long Island now. Can't find Mexicans to come and work there. It's shocking and it's awful. In terms of his spirituality, just very, very briefly, he's been always extremely easy to underestimate. He has all kinds of enemies everywhere he turns, but he has gone through the list of achievements that you listed. There is so impressive, it's historic, and he's a slam dunk, I think, for the Nobel Prize, particularly if he get Gaza and Ukraine, if he can figure those out, then God bless him, he deserves it, absolutely.
Now, right out of the gate, Cenk Uygur hit the panel with some actual receipts about our national debt. He's totally right. One of the biggest reasons we're drowning in debt is because Republicans over and over again pass massive tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy and corporations. The 2017 Trump tax cuts alone added nearly $2 trillion to the debt. That's not some progressive fantasy, it's straight out of the Congressional Budget Office. Then there's this narrative from the panel about Trump suddenly being a changed man after the assassination attempt, suddenly becoming this peace-loving statesman. Sorry, but you don't get to wash away a record of draconian immigration rates, family separations, and stoking violence just because you had a near-death experience. Actions matter more than any last-minute rebranding. And when it comes to immigration, Cenk Uygur was absolutely right to call out how Trump's policies terrorized millions of hard-working, law-abiding immigrants already living here. From ICE raids to the Muslim ban, Trump's approach was not about securing the border, it was about cruelty as a political strategy. Even business owners like the panel mentioned with the Hamptons example have felt the economic consequences.
Yeah, so I'm also a naturalized citizen, and my family came here because we love this country. And if you saw America the way that I see it, I think you'd love it even more. So I get it that people are frustrated that people are coming in illegally, but they didn't come here, the great majority of them didn't come here for anything but economic opportunity for their families. So look, people want to close the border, and Trump has done a good job of closing the border. Credit where credit is due. That is what people voted for. But I think Joe Rogan is right. They did not, and I think Geraldo's right. They did not vote for ICE to go in the middle of the country, in the middle of our cities, and uproot people that have been here 10 years, 20 years, that are doing super hard work. We should have a reasonable, sane immigration policy where we have a pathway to citizenship. We should acknowledge that we need these workers, and we should get them decent wages and a decent policy, by the way, and close the border. Do it right. Instead, what's happening now is we have undocumented immigration mainly because of corporate power. They want to be able to pay these guys less. They want to be able to use their work and not give them the right credit for it, or, by the way, use their work instead of Americans and not pay them the proper wages.
Okay.
So the real problem is corporate rule, and that's why we can't get to it.
But I would love to see you demonstrate the same sympathy to the victims of the rapes and the murders committed by illegal aliens, by the millions of people that Biden let into this
Can I address that real quick?
Unvetted.
Yeah. So unfortunately, natural-born citizens are the most violent, most criminal group in the country compared to undocumented immigrants and naturalized citizens. So naturalized citizens like me and Lindy are 4 times safer. We commit only a quarter of the crime on average. Undocumented, hold on, let me finish. It's almost over. Undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of natural-born citizens. So does that mean we should kick out the natural-born citizens or natural-born citizens?
Tell that to Lincoln Riley, by the way, who's no longer alive.
The number of criminals are small in each one of those categories. And demagoguing about criminality when on average undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of the people that are born here is just demagoguery.
The one thing I would like
driving towards
Listen,
real
Lindy, we got to wrap up, I'm afraid.
You're an immigrant in this country.
Lindy, I'm going to wrap it. I'm sorry.
You should not be committing any crimes.
Well, I agree with that.
First off, Cenk Uygur completely shut down that tired immigrants are dangerous criminals talking point. He came in with actual data, not just vibes, showing that naturalized citizens commit far fewer crimes than native-born citizens, and undocumented immigrants commit even fewer crimes than that. This isn't a new claim. It's backed up by years of studies from places like the Cato Institute and the American Immigration Council. When you see the numbers, it becomes clear. This fear-mongering narrative about immigration crime is just that, fear-mongering. Cenk Uygur also nailed it when he pointed out how corporate power is fueling this broken system. Let's be real, big business relies on immigrant labor, especially undocumented workers, precisely because they can exploit them and underpay them without offering protection. If corporations actually wanted to fix illegal immigration, they'd push for a sane, fair pathway to citizenship, but they don't, because cheap, vulnerable labor is profitable. It was refreshing to hear Cenk Uygur acknowledge that yes, borders should be secure. He even gave Trump credit for that. But at the same time, we desperately need a humane, comprehensive policy that respects the workers who are already here, many of whom have been building lives, paying taxes, and raising families for decades now. That's the part you almost never hear in these debates, because it doesn't fit the easy us versus them narrative.
Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.